some might think that innovation destroys jobs. No, innovation does not destroy jobs. Innovation creates jobs. It is the absolute end of the world. There is a giant financial collapse ahead. A global real estate crash is just around the corner. All the markets are going to be wiped out. It's just going to be an all-out economic apocalypse so bad that your entire standard of living is going to be irreversibly miserable and completely unrecognizable. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, and 20-year real estate investor. Why do so many people make dire apocalyptic forecasts about recessions and depressions just like that there, even if they are wrong? Well, that is because it gets them attention, and we're going to look at that here shortly. What's really going on today? Well, there is both good news and bad news. For more than a year now, a lot of people have constantly stirred up these recession rumors. I sure haven't. Well, both the latest GDP numbers and job growth numbers now tell us that we are not even close to an economic recession today. Now, let's look at something. A lot of people care deeply about American job growth. A real estate investor needs their tenant to have a job in order to pay the rent. Well, after the latest robust GDP reading, the latest BLS jobs report just added insult to injury for all of these perma-crash bros that stoke fear in blogs and on podcasts and on YouTube. Yeah, the whopping 517,000 new jobs added last month just soared. That nearly tripled expectations. And still, I wonder if these constant rumors about a coming recession are just going to drag on even longer than the fake meat fad. All right, take a look at this. This awesome chart, it shows the beautifully historic context on how the American economy has roared back since the start of the pandemic compared to other recessions. All right, the red line, that prominent line, that shows the resilience of the American economy coming off of the health crisis employment recession that we had about 3 years ago. And all those other lines are all the other post-World War II recessions, the job losses, and then the bounce back. It compares all of those. So now total jobs are 2.7 million above pre-pandemic levels, and there's just a 3.4% unemployment rate. Look at that red line just soar up there with a strong recovery. But look at the red line's trough. Look at the bottom. Okay, the bottom of that red line, that represents the job losses from the pandemic shutdown. All right, that is when people had to stay home. Well, goods weren't being produced then. Services were severely limited. Well, when dollars began chasing fewer goods, all right, that is exactly what began stoking the 2021 and 2022 inflation fire, along with more currency printing. Although more jobs are good news, hey, it's not all good. All right, the bad news here is that strong employment, well, that means more inflationary pressure. And Jerome Powell recently said that Americans should expect, quote, a couple more rate hikes, that's how he put it, in order to keep combating inflation. And more bad news can be found. America's $32 trillion in debt is galactically large, and inflation is still high. And yes, I discussed those things elsewhere. That needs to be considered. All right, but what's the reason for all this job creation? The main thing that thwarts a recession. What do you think the top reason is for all the new jobs? It is American innovation. Now, some might think that innovation destroys jobs, like with what we're seeing with today's bank tellers and grocery store cashiers disappearing. No, innovation does not destroy jobs. Innovation creates jobs. We're going to look at why in just a second here. But let's look at this first to help underscore my point. All right, these are the newest Global Innovation Index numbers imposed on a map, and it shows that America is the second most innovative nation in the entire world. Yeah, so of 193 UN recognized world nations, the US is only second to Switzerland. But yeah, people have falsely believed that innovation destroys jobs. Since back before the tractor replaced horses and mules, which meant that it soon took fewer farmers to feed those animals. Well, for the ultimate result and outcome of innovation, you don't have to look any further than where you are today, right now. We are more technologically advanced than at any time in human history. And what's the result of that? We have 11 million more jobs than we even do available workers today. And consider that 20 years ago, very few people could have foreseen all of today's new job opportunities that have been created as a drone operator or quantum machine learning analyst or YouTube creator. Hey, I guess I heard that one. Or a social media director, or an app developer, or an information security analyst. I mean, you've got new jobs as a digital marketer or a TikToker, and on, jobs that we couldn't foresee. So that's evidence that in 20 years, it's going to be hard to foresee what new jobs will exist that don't exist back here today. eBay just announced new hires for Web3 and NFTs, and those fields barely existed just 2, 3, 5 years ago. When self-driving cars replace Uber drivers, those jobs are simply going to migrate to better and higher uses, just like it did for yesterday's telephone switch operators and travel agents and bowling pin boys and elevator lift attendants. But some people will still fear for the loss of jobs. No, don't fear for a loss of jobs. Fear for a loss in innovation first. Hey, go ahead and put a YouTube like on this video if you like what I'm sharing with you here. I'd really appreciate the like. So the fact that we are not having a recession anytime soon, that is really frustrating for all the perma-bears, those people that are permanently bearish on the economy. Now, I wouldn't totally count out that we could have a mild recession later this year, but not soon. Politics, that's another really sad reason that people create gloom and doom type of media in excess. Some people, they actually wanted to wish a recession into existence since last year, especially since leading up to last year's midterm elections, because that would sow seeds of fear in people because the person that produces that media didn't like the political party in power. They wanted to believe there was going to be a recession. Hey, people think that if enough people believe that there is a recession, well, then that they can topple the current administration. And then if that incumbent administration does get toppled and their people are now in power, even if it doesn't change anything at all in the economy, that same recession promoter will stop promoting a recession. Why? Because they already got their political wish. It's politically driven. I don't do that here. I don't do left-right politics. Instead, I do up-down. Up is integrity. Let's go up. Let's stay up. And by the way, I first heard that up-down framework from Dr. Chris Martenson, someone that I really respect. I think it's a great way to think about it. How do you do up-down instead of left-right? I mean, how can you practically implement something like that? It can be helpful to follow people that you disagree with on social media for some new perspectives, or trying to watch some YouTube channels that you don't necessarily agree with. And today's suggested video and social feeds, that can often keep people in one narrow think silo. So, two big reasons that Crash Bros have been so wrong is that they're discounting American innovation, and they're often being blinded by politics. And okay, well, so what? I mean, really, who cares? What if gloomer and doomers, if they just keep plowing ahead with more fear-mongering headlines like giant crash ahead, total market collapse, massive depression coming, so what? How does that really hurt anyone? Well, I'll tell you why. It matters because it keeps us living in fear. Humans have 2-million-year-old brains, and they're adapted for survival. So we're biogenetically predisposed to seek out threats. Our brain's amygdala is wired to be stimulated by danger, alerting our nervous system. So overconsumption of fear-mongering media, that can actually create a small life. It can make you live a small life, both consciously and subconsciously, by, say, staying safe, keeping your money in a savings account that yields half of the inflation rate. Well, that's exactly why super savers trend toward poverty. And these apocalyptic beliefs that can thwart any new business investment, that can make a recession prediction self-perpetuating. It can make you avoid living the expansionary life that you really want to live for yourself, from starting an alpaca farm to chartering a yacht in Ibiza and really living it up, to floating the Grand Canyon in a raft, or doing what you really want to do. Has that dreary material even made you want to quit your daydream? Perma-bears rarely admit that their dire predictions were wrong. Instead, what they'll do is just go on making more intransigent, apocalyptic forecasts in order to get more clicks. People have been predicting the end of the world exactly since the beginning of the world. If you constantly call out a recession or even a depression, you'll usually be wrong, but you'll eventually be correct, because recessions occur every 5 years on average. But what did you miss out on for the last 5 years? So here at GRE, it is both good news and bad news. It is history over hunches. It's acting over waiting, and it is accuracy over hyperbole. Hey, well, coming up here on the channel, I've updated you on this non-recession stuff quite a bit lately, so I'll be telling you about how everyone is secretly moving here. You won't believe where in the world that here is, and no one else is out there talking about this. And also, my inflation discoveries when I went grocery shopping, and then, of course, importantly, how you can financially benefit from inflation. Both of those are right here on the channel. In the meantime, I'll talk to you on the Get Rich Education podcast. If you don't listen to podcasts, you can hear me on the Get Rich Education mobile app, so you can listen on the go. And you never have to contribute anything here, but if you'd like to help the channel grow, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell. That little notification bell is actually the only way that you are assured of seeing the next video. I'm Keith Weinhold. I'll see you next time.